She won't know why she's thinking about you, why she can't stop, why your name shows up in her mind when silence falls. But you will. Because you'll understand what works. Not on her logic, but on the part of her mind she doesn't even control. These aren't pickup lines. These aren't fake personas. These are emotional tools, psychological levers, and cognitive triggers that bypass resistance and flip attraction from the inside out. You want power in dating? It starts with mastering the invisible. Most people are focused on what to say, how to dress, how to be liked. But the truth is, none of that works if you don't understand psychology, because attraction isn't built logically. It's built emotionally, subconsciously, automatically, and most of the time, it's being built without her even knowing it. Stoic psychology is about understanding power and choosing how to use it. These 7 dark psychological tricks, they don't manipulate unless you do. They influence, they pull. They create an emotional shift so deep, she doesn't even know why she's suddenly thinking about you differently. Let's break down the tools that work, not once, not sometimes, but on every woman who's wired with emotion, instinct, and cognitive vulnerability. Number 1. The noble edge effect. Attraction starts with perception. But the problem is, people often judge you the moment you walk into the room. Before you even open your mouth, they've already decided who you are. Your face, your height, your style, your tone. She's scanning it all and forming a story. That first impression? It sticks. Unless you flip it. And that's where the noble edge effect comes in. It's a psychological technique that doesn't just reverse her assumptions. It builds intrigue by exposing a contradiction. People are emotionally drawn to disruption. We love it when something doesn't match, but still makes sense. It sparks a second look. It demands a reevaluation. You don't defend yourself. You don't correct her. You let her believe the surface, then flip the script subtly with purpose. Let's say your look gives off cold or intimidating. Most people would try to warm that up. But not you. You embrace it and then add emotional contrast. You say something like, "Yeah, most people think I'm closed off until they see me around dogs. Then I'm just a total soft idiot." It's small, but it works because it's unexpected. You created emotional depth in seconds. You let her feel one version of you, then revealed another. Her subconscious now has a question to answer. Who is this person really? That question is powerful because it means she's thinking about you again, replaying your words, reanalyzing your vibe. That's exactly what the noble edge does. You're not trying to impress, you're giving her something to resolve. And until she does, you stay in her mind. The noble edge effect works because humans are wired to find harmony. When something doesn't add up, the brain won't rest. That's the doorway to emotional imprinting. And it only works if your contrast feels authentic. Don't pretend to be mysterious. Don't invent stories. Just lead with your edges, and then reveal your depth. Let her find it. Let her feel like she's discovering layers. Now she's no longer judging you. She's studying you. And that's the shift that moves you from just another person to a person she wants to understand. Number 2, the empathy gap jealousy hack. Jealousy isn't evil. It's not a childish emotion. It's primal. It's one of the oldest emotional survival instincts humans have. Because jealousy isn't just about losing someone. It's about missing out on something someone else now gets. And when it comes to attraction, jealousy doesn't mean she wants you. It means she's realizing she could lose you before she ever even had you. This is where the empathy gap jealousy hack becomes lethal. You don't chase. You create friction. You stir up a quiet storm of comparison and emotional scarcity. But here's the catch. It only works when it's subtle. The moment you force it, the moment you flaunt it, you look desperate and the attraction dies. So how do you do it the right way? You position yourself as desired, without ever saying it. Let her discover it. Let her overhear it. Let her wonder what she's missing. You drop it in effortlessly, like it's not meant to impress. I was with someone the other day who said the same thing. One of my closest female friends always says I'm too intense. Now she's wondering, wait, who is this girl? Why is she saying that to you? What kind of relationship do you have with her? You never explain it, because the power is in the imagination. Humans always fill in the blanks with what affects them the most. And emotional blanks? She'll fill them with insecurity and curiosity if she cares about you even a little. That's the hack. You're using her own mind to build the story. You don't do the work, she does. Because jealousy lives in the space between what she knows and what she assumes. The empathy gap comes in here, because when someone's in a jealous state, they can't think logically. They can't imagine what it's like to not feel that way. It creates tunnel vision. And that tunnel vision is focused on you. Even if she doesn't want you badly yet, jealousy increases the emotional stakes. It activates her competitive edge. She starts checking what she's wearing, how she's acting, whether she's doing enough. Now suddenly, she's chasing validation from you. And the most dangerous part? She thinks it's her idea. You didn't flirt. You didn't provoke. You didn't post anything ridiculous. You just allowed her to see that other women have emotional access to you. And now she's subconsciously fighting for a seat at the table. It's not manipulation. It's emotional awareness. You don't create chaos. You create possibility. You create curiosity. And curiosity in a woman's emotional system always turns to tension. That tension is where obsession begins. Number 3. Suggestibility language framing. Words are not just sounds, they're instructions for how someone should feel. And when you understand the psychology of language framing, you stop speaking for connection and start speaking for impact. The human brain is suggestible by design, not because it's weak, but because it has to process millions of stimuli a day. So it uses shortcuts, emotional labels, framing patterns, associations. The words you use create a frame around the experience. So if you describe a moment as boring, she stores it that way. But if you say, that was intensely weird and addictive, her body stores the same moment as unique, even if nothing actually happened. This is where most people go wrong. They try to be chill, low-key, normal, but normal doesn't move anyone emotionally. What makes people unforgettable is how they make others feel. And feelings are shaped through the words you attach to the moment. That was fun. Versus, that was wildly chaotic and kinda perfect in a wrong way. Which one do you remember more? That's framing. That's emotional anchoring. And you're not doing it to impress. You're doing it to imprint. You're feeding her brain an emotional tag that it can't ignore. Because the subconscious mind can't distinguish between actual danger and emotional novelty. If you use emotional, loaded language, you create emotional gravity. Let's say you describe a coffee as the kind of bitter that makes you question all your life decisions. That's not just funny, it's sticky, it's memorable. It's now part of a moment that lives differently in her mind. You're framing her memory in real time. And here's where it gets deeper. The more emotionally suggestive language you use, the more she mirrors it. She starts matching your tone, using your words, thinking the way you see things. Now you're not just influencing her memory, you're influencing her inner dialogue. That's real persuasion. because now she's associating you with feeling alive, unpredictable, emotionally heightened. And every time she remembers that intensity, she thinks of you, not because you were loud, not because you were fake, but because you gave her an emotional script, and her brain accepted it without resistance. That's what emotional suggestibility is. Not control, but permission for her nervous system to respond to what you gave her. The next time you speak, don't just describe, frame. Use intensity, use visual emotion, use contrast. And watch how quickly your presence stops being casual and starts becoming imprinted in her emotional memory. Number 4, scarcity trigger through delayed access. When something is always available, its value drops. That's not philosophy, that's economics, and the exact same principle applies to human attraction. You want to know why some people can't stop thinking about the ones who seem distant? It's because of perceived scarcity, not rudeness, not arrogance, not aloofness. Just the simple fact that not everyone gets access. This is what makes delayed access so dangerously effective. You're not playing hard to get. You're actually hard to access, because your energy is not something you hand out freely. Scarcity isn't about ignoring people. It's about creating emotional tension through unpredictability. When she can't predict how much of your attention she'll get, she thinks about it more. When she knows you're not always available, your presence becomes a reward, not a default. This isn't about pulling away in a childish way. It's about being so rooted in your purpose that you're not sitting around waiting for a reply. You're not chasing conversations. You're not checking your phone every 2 minutes. You move when you choose to move. And that behavior alone creates massive emotional curiosity. She starts wondering, why hasn't he texted back yet? What's he doing that's more important than me? Why is he so unaffected? And here's the secret. When someone starts filling in the blanks with emotion, they start becoming emotionally invested. Because if she can't tell where she stands with you, her mind keeps running simulation after simulation, just trying to solve you. That mental energy, that's the beginning of obsession. And you triggered it with nothing more than being selective with your energy. You show interest, you create connection. And then you pause. You walk away while the tension is still alive. Most people kill their own momentum by overexposing themselves. They double text. They try to keep the conversation going. They try to be the most available person possible. And then they wonder why the attraction dies. It dies because access was too easy, and easy equals forgettable. When you delay access, you force the other person to sit in the emotional pocket, to wonder, to question, to feel the absence. And absence, when timed correctly, builds more tension than presence ever could. Because now, every time you show up, it feels intentional. Not needy, not routine, chosen. She values it more because she had to wait for it. And that waiting time? That's where her mind turns you into something more than just a guy she's talking to. You become the one she's thinking about, missing, craving clarity from. That's power. And you never had to chase it. You just had to understand the law of scarcity and move with discipline. Number 5, the touch and withdraw technique. This is where it stops being intellectual and starts becoming visceral. Because this one doesn't just touch her mind, it touches her body. Literally and psychologically, humans are wired to respond to contrast. We notice what's there, and then we crave it when it's gone. And when it comes to physical and emotional intimacy, the absence of something often burns deeper than its presence ever could. That's the psychology behind the touch and withdraw technique. And no, this isn't about physical contact alone. This is about emotional intensity followed by intentional pause. It starts with a high dash, a moment of full presence, a word, a look, a pause in the air, maybe a touch on the shoulder, maybe just a sentence that hits her right in the chest. You lean in with truth. You say something that drops beneath the surface like a stone. You hide a lot behind that smile, don't you? Suddenly, the tone shifts. She feels seen. The moment gets still. Now, you pull away. Not dramatically, just enough to create space. You change the subject. You excuse yourself. You check your watch. You break the energy before she gets to fully process it. What happens next? Her nervous system reacts. Because the human mind can't let go of emotional tension that has no closure. And what you've just created is open emotional tension. This is how you build magnetic presence without being physically close. She'll replay that moment later. The line you said. The silence that followed. She'll start asking herself questions. Why did he say that? Was that about me? Why did he disappear right after? And her subconscious will fill in the answers with emotional color. Now you've created emotional memory. Not from over-talking, not from performing, but from creating a micro-moment and letting it echo. Touch doesn't always mean physical contact. Sometimes it's about emotional resonance. But when you combine both, when you drop that light, intentional touch at the right moment, and then step back like nothing happened, you create space, not empty space, charged space. Space where she can feel the impact without the pressure. She'll start to crave the next moment. Not because she's needy, but because her emotional body now associates you with the rush that never landed. That's addictive, because you didn't try to escalate. You withdrew while the energy was still high. And most people don't do this. They overextend. They keep touching, keep talking, keep chasing the moment. And in doing so, they kill it. But when you pull back strategically, you give her a moment that lingers, that replays, that spreads inside her chest like warm tension. That's what makes you hard to forget. Not by being louder, but by being more precise. Give her a taste, then disappear just long enough for her to start craving the rest. That's how you build psychological desire. Not from pressure, but from a perfectly timed pause. Number 6, mirror then lead calibration. If you want influence, start by being familiar. But if you want power, you need to shift from familiar to foundational. This is where the mirror then lead technique takes over. Because people are hardwired to trust those who reflect them and to follow those who reshape them. Let's break it down. Phase 1. Mirror. Mirroring is more than copying movements. It's about synchronizing rhythm. You match her tone, her emotional pace, her verbal patterns. She talks fast. You keep up. She lowers her voice when she's being vulnerable. You soften your volume. She shifts posture when telling a story. Your body mirrors just enough. This creates emotional rapport without words. Because her subconscious recognizes something primal. This person is like me. That moment, that's when defenses drop. She relaxes, she leans in. Why? Because people trust familiarity. We move closer to what we recognize, and we open up when we feel seen, not judged. But mirroring alone isn't enough. If you stop there, you're just blending in. You're safe, but forgettable. So you transition. you switch from mirror to lead. Phase 2. Lead. You shift your energy. You slow your breath. You speak with more space between words. You adjust your tone, calm, grounded, unbothered. What happens next? She starts matching you. She slows down. She adjusts her posture. She follows the new tempo. Now, she's not just resonating with you. She's aligning with you. This is not manipulation. It's emotional leadership. You've moved from blending in to setting the frame. And people, especially in intimate connection, are drawn toward those who lead the energy of the room. You're not louder. You're not performing. You're just centered. And she feels it, because it's rare. Most people try to impress with extremes, but someone who can mirror then lead, that person is rare. That person is unforgettable. It tells her nervous system, this person doesn't just get me, they can guide me. And guidance, when done from calm confidence, is irresistible. Especially in a world where most people are emotionally reactive. You, on the other hand, aren't reacting to her emotions. You're meeting them, matching them, and then raising the vibration. And now she's not just attracted, she's affected, and she doesn't know why, but she'll feel calmer around you. Safer, more open, more vulnerable, more curious, because you didn't try to control her. You simply showed her a better emotional tone and let her choose to follow it. And when someone chooses to follow your energy, that's not attraction. That's influence, and it lasts far longer than any pickup line ever could. Number 7. Frame control through future pacing. This is where persuasion becomes permanent. The most powerful form of attraction isn't when someone likes you in the moment. It's when they start seeing you in their future, even if they don't realize it's happening. That's what future pacing does. It inserts you into her reality without forcing your way in. It lets her imagine you there, and once that image exists, her emotional system will work to maintain it. Here's how it works. You casually make statements that speak as if the connection between you is already established. Not maybe one day, not if we get to know each other. You speak as if it's already a thing. You'd probably hate my favorite cafe. I'd still drag you there though. When we go to that rooftop, you're getting the worst seat. I'm taking the view. You're the kind of person I'd have to mentally prepare for before a road trip. Notice the pattern? It's not asking, it's not begging, it's planting scenarios. And those scenarios work because they bypass her filter. She's not consciously deciding anything, she's visualizing. And once her brain sees the image, she starts feeling the emotions connected to it. It's basic neuroscience. The mind doesn't distinguish between imagined experiences and real ones. So when she imagines laughing with you on a balcony, or teasing you in a car, or challenging your music taste on a trip, part of her starts believing it's already real. Now every time she hears a song, sees that coffee shop, or passes a rooftop, guess what memory flashes? You. And that's where you win. Because you didn't force it, you didn't push. You just installed yourself in her mental timeline, with ease. Future pacing is the secret to long-term imprinting, because it speaks to her desire for shared memory, before it ever exists. It says, we already make sense together. You just haven't caught up yet. And that certainty is magnetic. Most people talk in hypotheticals. They wait for permission. They ask if they're allowed to be seen as the one. You're not asking. You're narrating the connection like it's inevitable. And when you do it with calm tone and emotional subtlety, she follows the script because it feels natural. She starts reinterpreting your connection as something ongoing, She's no longer analyzing the present. She's emotionally invested in a future that doesn't even exist yet, but her nervous system doesn't know that. It just knows the feeling is warm, and you're part of it. And that's the game, not begging for attention, but owning the frame. You write the script, and she steps into the story. That's real psychological dominance. Not from pressure, but from precision. These aren't tricks for boys trying to impress. They're tools for people who understand that power is subtle. Attraction doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be deep, controlled, calibrated. Most people chase attention, but attention fades. What you want is emotional weight. You want her thinking about you after you're gone. You want her energy leaning toward you without her even knowing why. That's what these tools do. They bypass the surface. They build pressure under her logic. And when it peaks, she feels the pull. Not because you begged, but because you understood her psychology better than she did. Subscribe if you're done guessing and ready to start moving with clarity. Comment the one trick you've seen used on you, or used without knowing. Share this with someone still asking, what should I text her? Like if you're ready to control the frame, not chase it. By supporting this channel, you help bring real psychological clarity and Stoic awareness to people still lost in games that don't work. Let's elevate the game and lead with emotional control.